Kia ora, some active weather across the northern parts of the country for today, for Thursday. And we've got more wet weather to come across, particularly this eastern side of the North Island, those northern parts of the South Island, and places like the Coromandel as we head through Friday and in towards the weekend as well. Down south, there's still some good clear skies, still rather a chilly morning. In fact, with some areas of cloud lingering, Alexandra struggling to get much above 1 degree Celsius. But it's up in the north, we're finding a fair bit of active weather. Thunderstorms, heavy rainfall through parts of Northland and Auckland to start the day. They're clearing away, but we've got more heavy rainfall feeding back in towards, say, the Coromandel and this eastern coast as we head through towards the rest of the afternoon and Friday. A rather messy looking picture on these charts. You can see all this rainfall is being driven in by an area of low pressure up towards the north and the west. Now the winds around that in a clockwise fashion. You can see why that rainfall then drives into places like the Coromandel and the Bay of Plenty, but also this eastern coast, these winds pushing that rainfall towards Hawke's Bay, in towards Gisborne, Tairafti, and also the top of the South Island as well. Down south, you've got the best of the weather for the time being. If you're looking for dry weather, that's the place to be. Elsewhere, I think always keeping a fair bit of cloud and the heaviest rainfall on those eastern and northern parts of the country. As we head through in towards the night time, you can see that low pressure is ever so slowly moving towards the east, but we keep hold of that northeasterly feed of air, and those winds will be quite brisk at times, especially around the coastal parts of, say, Hawke's Bay, Wairarapa, and up in towards Gisborne. So we are going to find rather windy and more of that rainfall to come as we head through. We have got some severe weather warnings around, particularly for places like the Coromandel, that western part of the Bay of Plenty, Tairafti, and those southern parts of Hawke's Bay, and of course that southern part, eastern part of Marlborough too. But as we go through in towards Friday, there's not an awful lot of change. You can see while it stays dry down in the far southern parts of the country, this rainfall wraps around, continues to feed in towards the eastern side of both the north and the South Island towards the end of the day. It does get better around this western side of the North Island. There's some clearer skies, the best place to be on for the North Island. Perhaps say Taranaki, particularly those southern parts of Taranaki, looking like some drier and brighter conditions for you. But even here, a fair covering of cloud. This eastern side though, is looking pretty wet, and there are some heavy rainfall warnings in place. Now, as you'd expect, those warnings are for places like the Coromandel, the western part of the Bay of Plenty, west of Te Puke, also Tairafti, Gisborne, and those areas in Hawke's Bay south of, say, State Highway 5, and the areas of eastern Marlborough south of Ward. Heavy rainfall, the heaviest up through Tairafti. We've already seen some road closures through there and some slips, so do take extra care on the roads. Head along to our severe weather video for more information about those warnings, and stay up to date with all the latest on the Met Service website as well. So as we go towards the North Island for Friday, you can see we've got some wet weather pushing on towards that eastern coast. Some really heavy falls in towards places like the Ruahine Range, Kawaka National Forest Park, but also those southern parts of Hawke's Bay, Tairafti, Gisborne, and up in towards the Coromandel as well. We're always going to find spells of rain making their way in towards Auckland. Not as persistent, but still some heavy falls and perhaps even a few thunderstorms north of, say, Whangaparoa as we go through the daytime. Generally rather a cloudy story across the North Island, the best of the sunshine, perhaps down towards the places like New Plymouth may get away with a decent looking story, but even here I think a fair covering of cloud and perhaps a few spots of rain. Down towards Wellington, I think we'll keep it fairly cloudy here with spells of rain on and off through the daytime as well. With a fair covering of cloud and some mild air wrapped around us, it's a fairly static looking day for some of these temperatures. The highs of, say, around about 16 degrees Celsius, but our overnight lows firmly in the teens for many of us. But I think we are going to find 10s and 11s out towards some of those clearer slots out towards, say, New Plymouth. But generally, I think the further east you are, the wetter it will be, and do please keep up to date with those severe weather watches and more particularly those warnings, especially for places like Hawke's Bay and Gisborne. As we go down towards the South Island, again, the best spots to be down the far southern parts of, say, Canterbury and towards Otago. We've got a bit more cloud around the far south coast, may bring a few showers to Stewart Island, perhaps skirting the likes of Invercargill. But it's really this next sort of wet weather pushing in towards the far north and the east, which is likely to be the main focus of the weather, particularly in Marlborough. Some heavy rainfall through there, but you can see this rain stretches down in towards Canterbury through the daytime, so it starts off dry, but the cloud thickens up and the wet weather comes in with it as well. Places like Fiordland, good looking day for you, and those southern parts of Western staying dry through daytime, nice clear skies, but even up in those northern parts of, say, Westland, we'll find it turns cloudier through the afternoon, but probably like to stay just about dry as well. But wetter weather pushing it back towards that eastern coast. And like I say, we have got that warning out for those eastern parts of Marlborough south of Ward as we head through the daytime as well. As we go in towards the next few days, we are going to find our temperatures get a little bit milder. Still cold enough for a touch of frost, though, down in the far south, especially where you get some clear slots through the night time. But I think it is going to be another cool day down there. But if you're looking for dry weather, heading south isn't a bad shout. But we are going to find more cloud on that eastern coast. Not brilliantly warm in that sense, but also keep an eye on our wind speeds as well. But our nighttime temperatures much more bearable compared to those cold and frosty temperatures we've seen over recent weeks. As we head through in towards the weekend, we're going to carry on Saturday with that same setup. The low pressure towards the north directs that easterly feed on towards the eastern side of the country. More heavy rainfall for places like Tairafti, Hawke's Bay, and up in towards the Coromandel as well. Again, perhaps a chance of 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning around those northern and eastern coasts. As we go back in towards Sunday, though, we find a bit of a shift in where that wet weather is. We find some drier weather back towards this eastern side, with that high pressure becoming a bit more of a dominant feature, pushing back towards us. So for that eastern side, better weather on Sunday. For the western side, though, you can see that next front pushes in as we head through Sunday. So I think we are all going to find a bit of dry weather through the weekend, but on that eastern coast, you have to wait till Sunday. On that western coast, hopefully Saturday should give you some better weather as well. That's it from me, but as always, please keep up to date with the latest forecasts and also those severe weather warnings, and you can find all of that information at metservice.com.